Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 329th weekly webcast. This is my 7th year of doing this. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. So the way this call works is this is an AMA. Ask me anything like you see on Reddit. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, personal growth questions. My humble goal is to help you take your career, happiness, etc. to the next level. Without further ado, let's begin. Before I get to your questions, I want to talk about 9/11 and then Charlie Kirk as well. Okay, and God bless his soul and his family. And regardless of where you sit in the political spectrum, left or right, we all know that what just happened, it was terrible. Freedom of speech is a beautiful thing. Now, I want to talk quickly about my experience in 9/11. So I worked at Goldman Sachs in New York City, and it was awful. Give me 1 second. I'm going to adjust some audio figures here. Hold on a second. Okay, much better. 1 second here. Sorry, guys. All right, and behind the scenes, this is what's happening. I'm adjusting audio here. I tried a new thing with it with the green screen behind me, and I think the volume is too loud. Give me a second to adjust this. I think we're good to go. Excellent. All right, so I worked at Goldman Sachs on 9/11 in New York City. And I was on the 49th floor of One New York Plaza, which is the most southern building in New York City. And when the first plane went in, I turned around and I saw it. The building's so massive, though, that I thought it was just a tiny plane that hit. So I did the sign of the cross, said a prayer, and then eventually started to go back to work on the trading floor. It's pretty frantic in the morning, as you know. And then, of course, we turned around and we watched in horror as the second plane hit. Then what I did was we all had to walk down 49 flights, and it was eerie. I remember a lot of the women walking down the stairs took off their high-heeled shoes. There's a lot of crying, etc. And we knew something was up, obviously. Initially, we thought, the first building fell, and that was the sound of the second boom. But of course, it was another airplane. Then what happened was I took my team to Battery Park, and we hid behind a fence, a wire fence, because we were in survival mode. We thought the building was going to fall like this and that millions of people were going to rush into the water. And then what happened was we saw the building come down. I'll never forget it. And the smoke blew south. And so we were covered for a couple hours. We were covered in smoke. And so we thought that the attacks were still ongoing. Every now and then we'd hear an airplane go overhead. We thought it was another attack. People were screaming. Of course, it was the U.S. Air Force. And I remember at the time, hearing rumors. People were saying that, San Francisco's been hit, the Sears Tower, the Pentagon, which ended up being true, of course. And then their only communication that worked that day was BlackBerry. And so what I did was I got a stranger's BlackBerry, and I texted my mom and dad that live in Mississauga, where the biggest airport in Canada is. And I told them be careful, obviously, because we had heard that flights are being rerouted. Then there was an opening in the sky. And then we saw, a couple of jets, government jets, obviously. And everybody started cheering. Then I walked home up the east side. And then I went home to see my wife. And I gave her a big hug, obviously. Now, if 9/11 occurred, it was the worst of times and the best of times. The best of times because America came together and people were hugging on the streets. New York City was very close to each other. And I believe that, and it breaks my heart to say this, that if 9/11 occurred today, you'd have the right blaming the left and the left blaming the right. And I think that social media and comments on social media posts on TikTok, etc., have really broken this country in two. America is at odds right now, and we saw what happened yesterday with the tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk. And I love that man for his faith in God. And it breaks my heart to look at all the comments in TikTok, Instagram, etc., of people on one side of the political spectrum saying not the nicest things. And I just think it'd be nice if we all came together as a country and the world today, on 9/11 to forget about political opinions and just understand that, we are all children of God. And so if anybody wants to talk about 9/11 in more detail, or if anybody wants to talk about Charlie Kirk, I'm more than happy to do so. But this is a dark day for the United States, for sure. Yeah. Okay. And if there's any audio issues, please let me know. Thanks, everybody, for your patience as I try to push the envelope and try different things as well. Of course, this is New York City behind me here. If you're curious how I set this up, it's just a blue screen. And the reason I use blue screen as opposed to a green screen is because my eyes are green. And anybody with green eyes, especially a lot of people in Ireland, whenever they're in movies, they have to wear contact lenses if you're going to use green screen. So let me get to your questions now. Again, if you have questions about 9/11, if you want to talk about Charlie Kirk or anything else, I'm here for you always. Thank you. All right, give me a second. All right, first question I've got here is, give me 1 second. When it comes to private equity, what is the most important valuation metric they look at to evaluate private companies and why? Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing you look at is something called EBITDA. Okay, and EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Or it stands for earnings before a trick dumb accountant. Sorry, that was awful. There's always time for humor, right? So when you value a company, you want to make sure that you only use cash-based accounting. And so this here is a very simplistic income statement. Okay, you start with revenue, you deduct expenses, you get net income. Now the problem is you have non-cash expenses here. And so depreciation, like you don't actually pay that, right? It's just an accounting thing. So the income statement is kind of a lie. So as a result, what you can do is you can look at EBITDA, okay? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. And then what you can do is you can fix the income statement, so to speak, to accurately reflect what your cash flow is. Okay, and so what you do is you're going to calculate something called free cash flow. Okay, and free cash flow is operating cash flow minus CapEx. And not to bore you guys with too much finance stuff, but if I give you an income statement, if I give you an income statement and a balance sheet, you can automatically calculate the cash flow statement. And there's 3 sections to the cash flow statement. Okay, cash flow from operations, investing, and financing. And to calculate free cash flow, you're going to take operating cash flow, this guy here, minus CapEx, meaning what you're spending on equipment, machines, etc. Now, private equity firms like to value companies using something called EV to EBITDA, which is kind of like price to earnings, except EV, enterprise value, which is on the numerator, is market cap plus debt minus cash. And it's basically a way to value a company if you want to buy the whole thing, meaning equity plus the debt, you got to buy both, minus the cash, because you get that back when you buy the company. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. And there's other ways to value companies I can talk about if you guys want me to as well. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Great to see you. God bless you. And then Tommy wrote, what would be your approach to value a small business? Sure. Profit or loss statement, tax returns, understand the market, question mark. Is this accurate? And would you look at any other valuation metrics? Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple ways to value a company. Okay, whether you're an investment banker working on IPO or whether you're a startup. And the best way for me to explain this quickly is to show you a spreadsheet. So I provide this to my clients here. So what you want to do is you want to forecast your financial statements, revenue, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. And then you value the company using discounted cash flow. Okay, which basically means you're going to calculate how much cash a company can make every single year in today's terms. And then you can also look at price to earnings as well as price to revenue. And the reason we look at price to revenue is because some companies are not profitable yet, but every company can be sold for a certain amount. So hopefully that answers your questions. I know that was quick. If you want me to, I can, of course, go into much more detail than that. Thank you. All right. Next up, Malcolm wrote, good news, Chris. I have now officially sold my mutual fund holdings. Excellent. I know where you're going with this. I'm so happy. My question is, does it matter what S&P 500 ETF I hold? Should I stick with Vanguard or a commission-free ETF via a bank? Yeah, a couple things. First of all, anybody who owns mutual funds, please sell them. They're an absolute scam. They're a scam because the fees, including hidden fees, can be between 3 and 5% per year. meaning 300 basis points to 500 basis points per year. And they typically underperform index funds. Now, index funds, for example, Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, which you're referring to, ticker VOO, instead of having a fee of 300 to 500 basis points, it's 0.03% per year. It's a good deal. And so what that means is for every $100 you invest in this ETF, you're only paying 3 pennies per year in fees. Now, this begs the question, why the heck do people invest in mutual funds if they're a ripoff? Well, it's a price discovery issue. And also these mutual funds have deep relationships for decades and decades with HR departments in big companies. Okay, so for 401k matching, et cetera, like Fidelity and others. And also, these mutual fund companies have powerful lobbyist groups in DC, and they spend a fortune on advertising, right? And, you know, back in 2007, about 40% of all profits from all companies in the S&P 500 came from financial services companies. And they throw a lot of that back into sales and marketing as well. Yeah. Now, in terms of how to do your own investment research on ETFs, the easiest way is as follows, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to go to etfdb.com. That's etfdatabase.com, etfdb.com. And you can look at ETFs by geography, by type, crypto, etc. And then you can do your own research from here. Okay, so let's pick a random country. Let's go to Brazil right here. Okay, so say you want to invest in Brazil. So you can buy EWZ here. Now you got to make sure that you look at the fees. The less liquid an ETF is, the higher the fees. So if you want to get exposure to Brazil, you're going to pay 59 pennies per $100 you invest every single year. And what you also want to do is you want to look at the holdings. You can do that also in Yahoo Finance. So let's type EWZ here, or EWZ, as I say in Canada. All right, so what you want to do is you want to click here on holdings to see what's in it. Now, Brazil is very natural resources intensive, so there's a lot of companies there like Petrobras, as well as other mineral companies that make up this here as well. Okay, so here's Petrobras right here. Yeah, so you want to look here. And you also want to look at liquidity. Okay, and I never want you guys to buy a stock or an ETF that doesn't trade that much. Okay, so let me show you what this means. So let's go right here, average volume. Okay, so for this ETF, and I'll show you ticker VOO in a second. But for this ETF here, it trades 26 million shares per day on average. You never want to buy more than 10% of the average daily trading volume. Otherwise, it's hard to sell when you want to sell. And illiquid stocks own you in a down market rather than vice versa. Let's now go over to VOO, which I own. Do your own research, please. So whenever I'm not sure where to put my money, I just throw it here in the VOO. Now for this one, as I mentioned before, the fees are 0.03%. As you can see here, 3 pennies per $100 you invest each year. In terms of the holdings, it's just the S&P 500, which is very tech heavy, which is well over 30% now, I think. 35%. Wow, it was 21% back in 2020. So, and you can see the largest holdings here. It's not a surprise, and you can scroll down to learn more. It's not a surprise the largest holdings are companies like Apple, Facebook, etc. Okay. Now, I humbly believe that the S&P 500 is going to be up an average of 15% per year for the next couple decades. Now, I know there will be big down years. Do I know what year? No, and I don't care. You got to be long-term focused like Warren Buffett. So when Warren Buffett buys a stock, like he did with Coca-Cola around 1990, which he still owns today, when Warren Buffett buys a stock, he always tells himself, I'm assuming the market's going to be closed for 10 years. Now, of course, he knows the market will be open over the next 10 years, but he doesn't care. He's just very, very long-term focused. The longer the view, the wiser the intention. Okay. Now, if all you did was you invested in the S&P 500 for the next 50 years, at a 15% return, I'm going to show you how much money you can make. Okay? And you're going to sleep better at night as well, I promise you, because the S&P ain't going to go bankrupt, right? It's the very last company on the planet to go bankrupt would be the U.S. government, and I think the S&P 500, those companies are better run than the U.S. government. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to a spreadsheet, which is going to blow your mind. And I am going to do a quick calculation for you. So let's say you put $2,500 every single month in the S&P 500, okay, every month. And you do this for 50 years, and the average return is 15%. How much money do you think you'd have in 50 years? Whatever number you think, it's much higher. It's actually $345 million because of compound interest. For those of you who want to understand the math and are nerds like me, you can just take a screenshot right here. So what I recommend doing is I recommend trying to save as much money as you can before spending. And Warren Buffett said you want to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And so what I want you all to do, and I know times are tough, you can't always do this, but what I want you all to do is every single paycheck, I want as much taken out as you possibly can, okay, and live below your means, of course, and I want it to be put directly into your retirement savings programs, okay? Trust me, you will thank yourself many, many years from now, because what happens is it grows tax-free, and I can talk about that in more details if you want me to as well. All right, let me go to this angle here. Okay. All right. Next question from, hey, Peter. Good talking to you yesterday, bud. Peter is in Connecticut. He went to University of Connecticut, UConn. Good guy, good friend. Peter wrote, what's a good way to remember debit and credit for bookkeeping? Yeah. You expect a debit to involve money out and credit to be incomings, but apparently not. It seems counterintuitive. Yeah, nobody uses that anymore. And the reason people don't use debits and credits is it's confusing, and also because we have software to do that now. So anybody that learned accounting in the 90s, early 90s like I did, we were taught T accounts, debits, and credits. Ignore that crap. Because online software products like QuickBooks and others will do this automatically for you. Yeah. All right. And if anybody disagrees, please share in the chat, please. Thank you. All right, Karthik. First time I see you on the call. Hope you join us again. Welcome. Said good evening from India. Good to see you. It's 11% of my customers from India. Thanks. I've humbly got 2 million paying customers in every single country. All right, Mina, good morning. All right, Raphael wrote, good evening, Chris. How are you? I'm always good, thank you. Hope you're well. I'm just a little bit sad today because of the assassination yesterday. Regardless of your political affiliation, left or right, it was disgusting what happened. Yeah, and if I think about 9/11, like what happened on 9/11, I remember really well that night. I think it was 100 senators stood on the Capitol building at night and all sung together, God Bless America. That was really powerful, and that meant a lot to all of us. So the left and the right came together. And as I mentioned earlier, if 9/11 were to occur now, God forbid, I think what would happen is that the right would blame the left and vice versa. Yeah, and again, I blame social media for this, for dividing opinions in American society. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, though. Yeah, but God bless Charlie Kirk and his family. Yeah. All right. Next question is from Raphael, who wrote, hope all is well, likewise. CPI reading today was higher than expected. It came out at 2.9%. Expectations were 2.7%. What that means is this. Prices went up 2.9% year over year versus expectation of 2.7, which means that the Federal Reserve might be less likely to cut interest rates. Yeah. So I don't know, but Jerome Powell is under a lot of pressure from the Trump administration. You guys all read the same headlines as I do, even though it's supposed to be a completely separate governing body. He's under pressure to cut rates. The problem with let me just get a prop here. All right, and yes, I cleaned up my studio before sharing this angle. It's a disaster before, but the problem with keeping your money in cash is every single year the government makes more of this crap. Okay, and cash is trash. In fact, the amount of US dollars out there today versus 2020 is about 50% higher. So you're working so damn hard to make this, and the government's diluting you. And that's why you have to do your own investment research and never stick with cash, okay? If you're very conservative, you can always buy government debt, meaning treasuries, if you want. And what I can do is I can give you a quick case study, depending on your questions, on treasuries, fixed income, what that means. Never, ever, ever sit with cash because cash is trash. All right. Okay. All right. Next up, Raphael wrote, the non-farm payroll last week was also awful. Yeah. How would that affect the Fed's decision to cut rates? Yeah. It's hard. Unemployment getting worse. Inflation getting worse. So it's kind of a toss-up. So the way it works is this. A lot of people think that the government sets rates for the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 30-year. They don't. The way it works is this. The government sets interest rates for short term, okay, like this year. And the way they do that, the way the government does that is, and I got a prop here, I'll show you. This will be fun, actually. So I'm Powell, okay? I'm the Federal Reserve. And you're all investors and you're all banks, okay? So what I can do is this. These are bonds, okay? Government bonds. You're all banks. So if you were to buy this from me, I'm the Fed. If you were to buy this from me, I give you this, I take your cash. And there's less cash in society now, right? Supply went down. And when supply of anything goes down, price goes up. So the amount of cash out there goes down, which means interest rates go up, okay? And they set rates by actually just, they set short-term rates. And then what happens is the market, okay? People anticipate what a rate's going to look like 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. That's not set by the government, only short-term rates. And the best way to think about it is this, okay? Let's say the economy sucks right now, okay? Say things are awful and the government wants to help the economy. What they do is they flood the market with cash. Okay, and this is fake money, fake teacher here. They flood the money with cash. And what that means is they're going to buy back these things here, okay, treasuries. So if they buy this back, there's more cash out there in society. What happens is more cash, meaning rates go down. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to all of you. The problem is when rates get to zero, what do? You're stuck. And rates were zero, okay, in about 0% in 2008 as well as Q1 of 2020. And when that happens, the government is forcing you to buy speculative assets. So when rates were zero back in Q1 of 2020, people were buying garbage like NFTs, etc., or baseball cards. If anybody can tell me what baseball card this is and what this would be worth in mint condition, bonus points. Yeah. So all other speculative assets go up big time. And that's why whenever interest rates are low, the market tends to do well. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. So one more quick thing about interest rates. And I'm going to show you where to check the data. This won't be boring. So let's go together to a government website called treasury.gov. Treasury. Give me 1 second here. And then here, United States Treasury, what you're going to do is you're going to click here, okay, on data, and then go to daily yield curve rates, okay? And you can select the current month if you want to, okay? And this is how people chart what's called the yield curve, okay? So let's look here, just for simplicity, at today, okay? So right now, the 1 month is trading at 4.4%, and the 30-year is at about 5%. So that means the chart looks like this. Lower now, higher later. And that's a healthy yield curve. Why? Because the market is saying that in 30 years, rates are going to be higher. And rates could be higher because the economy might be doing better. Okay? An inverted yield curve, which we had under the Biden administration, is the opposite. Rates are higher now, lower in the future because everybody is saying that they think the economy is going to suck in the future. So I hope that makes sense to you. Now let's take a look at what rates have done the past couple of days. So near-term rates have fallen to 4.23%. This could mean, it might mean, the government, people are expecting the government to be a little bit more likely to cut rates. But we'll find out. And whenever the Federal Reserve speaks, okay, whether it's Alan Greenspan back in the 80s or Powell today, people dissect every single word. And so what happens is the Fed has a bunch of governors. They meet every now and then. And then they release what are called FOMC minutes, Federal Open Market Committee meeting minutes, commission meeting minutes. And then people dissect every single word. So if the last minutes that were released a couple weeks ago, the Fed said, we are somewhat worried about inflation. And the current notes or meeting minutes said, we are very worried about inflation. Then people are going to freak out and expect interest rates to rise. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have follow-up questions, please let me know. And thank you. Okay. And Center of the Board, thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate it. That goes directly to the schools I'm building in Africa. We finished Rwanda a couple of years ago. We're doing Kenya now. I'm building 1,000 schools in Africa in my lifetime. I'm going to die broke. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it to give back to society. God bless you. Thank you for that $20 donation. And so center of the board question is, can you use the same method, for example, the 100-step method in your course for researching on stocks, on bonds? I'm also getting my feet wet investing in ETF and commodity options with a long-term view. No, it's a little bit different. So it's easier to do investment research on stocks, okay, meaning equities. Equity means ownership. So when you're doing investment research on stocks, this is one of the many templates I give my clients. But you look at qualitative research, quantitative research, as well as financial research, okay? And you're going to fill in all these steps here, value the company, and then this is dummy data, but you got a one-page report you can use for investment purposes or to bring to your informational interviews to get the job. When it comes to fixed income, meaning bonds, it's a little bit different, okay? With bonds, what you're going to do, it's a little bit more macro related. And for anybody that's a fan of the TV show Billions, I did a very long vlog on bonds using Sandycott, which is a pretend municipality. Okay, with bonds you can buy government federal bonds. Okay, meaning treasuries, which this one here, and you can also buy corporate bonds and municipal bonds. With federal debt, meaning United States government debt, you're not going to lose money. I promise you. Okay, again, the last company on the planet to go bankrupt would be the federal government. The problem is though, if you buy municipal bonds, which are also called munis, they're tax-free. Okay, so there's lower taxes in most situations, but you can lose every single penny. You got to be really, really careful. Okay, so for example, Orange County, which is a district in Southern California, the muni owners, municipal bond owners, they lost every single penny like a decade or two ago. You can go belly up. So it's really, really tough to do due diligence on bonds. If it's a company, you can look at cash flow metrics. You can look at discounted cash flow. You can pour through the financial statements if you want to. And you can use AI to do this as well. But what I recommend doing instead of doing that is just buy bond ETFs, okay? So let me show you really, really quickly. So if you're going to buy corporate debt, you want to complete the 100-page template you see right here, okay? And what you also want to do is you want to do forensic financial statement analysis. And this is a new product of mine where you can do forensic financial statement analysis on any company, including ripping apart the 10K, the footnotes analysis, etc. And the reason I bring up footnotes right here when it comes to corporate debt is because you can't just look at the three major financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. You have to look at the footnotes. And footnotes, just like when we were in school, they're little numbers and brackets beside different line items on the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. And quite often on the balance sheet, you'll see a footnote for short-term and long-term debt. And then companies have to disclose in their 10K, meaning their annual report, how much debt is coming due over the next 5 years. You need to analyze that if you're a fixed income investor. And without looking at the footnote, you don't know how much debt is coming due in the next 5 years. So if you're interested in that product and my others as well as joining one of my programs where I do daily group coaching and one-on-ones, please go to the link in the description of this video and set up a call with somebody on my team. Thanks. All right, enough of the infomercial, Chris. Let me get to the questions. All right. The non-farm payroll last week was also awful. How did that affect the Fed's decision to cut rates? Yeah, so again, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of tricky because inflation up. When inflation goes up, that means they're not going to cut rates, but unemployment worse, which means they are going to cut rates. So they kind of offset each other. And the market right now is not really sure. But as I showed you with the yield curve a second ago, the market is expecting a little bit more so of a rate cut now, given the economic data. Now, when it comes to government data that's released, you get non-farm payrolls, okay, every single week. And then you get the monthly unemployment report as well, which of course heavily influences, along with inflation, heavily influences what the Fed's going to do when it comes to interest rates. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Raphael wrote, with what happened yesterday with Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace, do you think there will be civil unrest or civil war looming in the United States soon? I don't know what the repercussions are going to be, but I am worried. But political assassinations have been on the rise. You guys see this, the same news flow I see. It's not just Republican, it's also Democrats. And it's a lot of judges have been threatened as well. And there's a lot of threats we don't know behind the scenes that have occurred. Even Pelosi's husband I don't care if you're left wing or right wing. It's sad. Pelosi's husband was attacked in their house. I think it was like 2 years ago or so. I'm worried. I'm worried. And I see the same social media stuff that you guys all see as well. And it made me sick to my stomach. I actually teared up a bit when I saw the comments yesterday on TikTok on Charlie Kirk. Again, I don't care if you're left or right wing. This is a man that was expressing his opinion, and he has children. But the hate speech I saw was just disgusting, really disgusting. So it's much better on YouTube, right? You don't see as much hate speech on YouTube, and I think the best thing that Google did was Google Plus, and I know that was a social media disaster years ago. But when they started Google Plus, what they did was they made everybody that wants to comment on a post, you have to comment with your Gmail account, right? You have to first of all get a Gmail account so you can comment. I wish there was more disclosure like that. Otherwise, there's hidden hate speech, and who knows who's doing it, right? There could be foreign governments as well that are influencing hate speech on American and global social media networks in order to divide the country. Yeah. So, on this day of remembrance, 24th anniversary of 9/11, I just want everybody to come together. Because as I mentioned earlier, when I told you about my 9/11 story, this is New York City behind me here, it was the worst of times. But of course, it was also the best of times, only because Democrats and Republicans came together. And I don't think there's definitely hasn't been a time in my entire life, I'm 53, that people are this divided in the United States. And before I was born, maybe you go back to the late 60s with the Vietnam War. Yeah, there was a hippie movement. They didn't trust anybody over 30. But I think things are much, much worse right now. I don't know what the fallout is going to be. I'd love to hear all of your opinions on what the fallout's going to be. Will there be a civil war? I don't think so. I don't think things are ever as bad as we think they are. Civil unrest, I pray there's not. I pray there's not. But everybody's opinion should be allowed. Always. Yeah. Yeah. Freedom of speech is a beautiful thing. And I remember in 2021, I had a small webcast, and there was a doctor from Middle America, smart guy, and he expressed his opinions on not being in favor of the COVID vaccine. And I got a warning for medical misinformation. And it was at that point I realized that freedom of speech is a government thing and not a social media thing. But now it's gone too far to the extremes when it comes to the comments I see pro and negative for Charlie Kirk. Yeah. He's a human being with kids. Yeah. All right. What do you guys think? Do you think there will be civil unrest? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks. All right. Eileen, great to see you. Hope you're doing well as well. I hope you're coming to our event later this month as well, our 3-day event. I actually rented this badass bus. We're all going to go up to Napa, and I rented Coppola's Vineyard as well. Yeah. Moving on to Raphael, who wrote here, and give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Raphael wrote, gold and S&P 500 index are now at all-time highs, but usually these two are inversely correlated. What is it telling us now? Yeah. It's telling us that there's a lot of fear out there. Okay. So people tend to, by certain people, okay, I know if you look at the VIX is relatively low right now, which means there's not much fear. But gold usually does incredibly well. It usually does incredibly well when there's a time of crisis. So in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, when I ran my hedge fund, my biggest position was ticker GLD. So there is fear out there from certain investors, I think, right now. But what I think is that gold is an amazing long-term investment. I wouldn't buy it at an all-time high now. You want to buy it when it pulls back, obviously. But I love investing in anything where supply is going down, but demand is going up in the long run, meaning prices go up. And it reminds me of my grandfather, God bless him, he's up there with my little sister, Katie, who died last year. I missed her. My grandfather used to say, Chrissy, buy land, they're not making it anymore. Yeah. So think about that also when you invest in cryptocurrencies. Try not to invest in cryptos where there's an unlimited supply. Yeah. All right. Moving on to electronics on site. Oh my gosh, it's been a couple of years. You were in my gold MBA program 4 years ago, and I remember you asked for a refund, which I happily gave to you. And your son at the time I think he was doing judo and was an Olympic candidate as well. It's so good to see you're from Texas, I remember. Yeah. And so you wrote, what investments do you recommend that will provide me monthly dividends that will cover my living expenses so I can concentrate fully on my business and quit my job? Yeah, it's going to take a lot of capital. What I'd probably do is look at real estate. Okay. Now, it's my humble goal, and I'd love to see this within 10 to 15 years, that my students make more money from their real estate investment properties than they do from their base salary. Okay. And the richest people in the United States own property. Okay. They own a lot of property because you get to write off and depreciate it. Right. And so I remember back in 2016, the televised debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, where Hillary Clinton said, it's not fair, you're not paying taxes. And Trump was he's pretty open about it. He said, well, of course not, because I own real estate and I get to depreciate stuff. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to all invest in real estate. I'll show you really quickly how to do that. Okay. So I've got a complete real estate course exclusively available on my website. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the residential investment rental lessons exercise track. Okay. And this works in every country in the world. You're going to answer tons and tons of questions. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to print out a one-page executive summary as well as a business plan. Failing to plan is plan to fail. Always write a business plan for everything first, please. Okay. And Alexander wrote, is silver also a safe asset like gold? No, not to the same extent. Only because there are industrial applications and production that uses a lot of silver. Therefore, when GDP sucks, demand for silver goes down. Yeah. And if you want to invest in silver, the best thing to do is just buy ticker SLV. Okay, it's just like GLD. Yeah. All right, next question is from Mr. N, who wrote, what's the best way to buy gold in my portfolio? Physically buy gold or digital gold, like an ETF? Yeah, without a doubt, it's buying the ETF, okay, ticker GLD, right? And the fees are a bit higher, at close to 50 basis points or so last I checked. But the reason why you want to buy an ETF for gold and not gold itself is you don't know if it's real, right? This is plastic. You don't know if it's real. And also, if you buy an ETF, it means it's very, very liquid. You can get in and out very quickly as well, and it's probably worth talking about cryptocurrency ETFs. I got a question about this all the time. So cryptos are doing extraordinarily well. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I publicly disclosed what I own years ago. Now, I think it was last year or the year before, the government and the SEC blessed cryptocurrency ETFs. And that was a big deal. It was as big of a deal as the gold ETF that came out in 2004, ticker GLD. Because what that means is you can quickly buy and sell and not have to worry as much about getting scammed. Now, when you buy cryptocurrencies, what I'm holding right here is a Ledger Nano X, okay, unopened. I have tons of these things. And when you buy cryptocurrencies, if you want to put it into a cold storage wallet like this one here, it's really, really complicated. And when you set these things up, you have to write down like 12 to 24 little codes. You're so confused that the second you put in your order to buy Bitcoin or whatever crypto it is, you tend to cut that order in half. Now, since you can buy crypto ETFs, this friction is gone. It's more liquid, it's easier to get in and out, and you know more than likely than not, if you're buying from a good ETF company, you're not getting scammed. It's a big deal. Yeah. All right. Next question is, earlier on I talked about debits and credits. Folkstyle wrote, inventory credits and debits feel like they're the opposite in SAP systems. Yeah. So SAP, for those you're not familiar with it, it's a German software company created by 5 disgruntled IBM employees. It's kind of like Microsoft Office for the whole company where you track stuff. Yeah. Alexander wrote, what incident made you quit your job and start a company? Yeah, there was a couple. I remember I worked at Accenture back in the 90s. And if anybody is frustrated in business, in your career, I say this with love in my heart, good. Because that's going to force you to get a better job and start your own company. But it was 1995. Okay, I am that old. And I was at Accenture in Toronto. And this associate partner, who I won't name, he told me, print out this database report. And it was about 10 p.m. on a weekday. And I tried really, really hard. I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't want to mess the thing up. So I went up to him and said, I'm so sorry. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. And he looked at me and he said, it's because you're incompetent. And then he walked away. And I was like, WTF, why the face? And it frustrated me. So that planted the seed for me wanting to start my own company. And earmuffs time for those of you that don't like swear words, but there's nothing worse than spending the rest of your life being someone else's bitch. And if you're frustrated at work, you can do something about it. Set up a call with my team here. I'll help you get another job or start a side hustle. And you should all be starting side hustles on the side, always. Okay? And I did that for many, many years as well. And the way to know when to quit your job and to go with your side gig full time is when your trailing 6 months revenue from your side hustle is greater than your annual salary. And I say 6 months because you want to ignore seasonality. Like the month of December is always the best month ever. Yeah. So that's partially what did it. And also, I worked for other people over the years. I worked for great people when I worked at Goldman. I worked for not so great people at other companies. I'll never name the companies or the people. But it's frustrating for many of you watching as well, knowing that you're working really, really hard and your boss feels that you're a threat. They feel that they hired their assassin. They're that insecure. So, and I was bullied as well, in companies. But anyway, And you got to think about starting your own company. Otherwise, your biggest nightmare will come true, which is this. You'll wake up one day when you're, 80, and you're going to work. And, the schmuck you work for is paying you this much money to make their dreams become a reality. Yeah. All right. That reminds me, with my employees, I had them over at my house. And I brought one of my employees into my driveway. I got cars and stuff. And I said, you see this Mercedes here? If you work really, really, really hard this year, I might buy myself another one. That was a joke. That didn't happen. Okay. Laugh at me, always not with me, please. Next question from Alexandra is, do people in the corporate world even punch their bosses or threaten to meet them in the street? Not that often. Gordon Gekko did that to Bud Fox, though. Somebody told me what movie that's from. No, I've never seen workplace violence. Yeah. Okay. I love you. And then you wrote, what skills make a person CEO, even the political skills? What political tactics do you recommend to rise in the corporate world? Yeah. So a CEO and an entrepreneur and a partner in a law firm or venture capital firm, they have one thing in common. They're good salespeople. The most important skill set you can learn is, number one, networking. Number two, how to sell yourself. And what a lot of people don't realize is everybody around you that you work with that got promoted before you or got raises before you did, the reason it's happening is because of this. Behind closed doors, they ask. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask and you'll receive. So let me explain how to get promoted. Here's what you're going to do. Here's the playbook, okay? All right. So let's say your boss comes up to you and says, job well done. You did a great job. They're very complimentary. You immediately strike while the iron's hot and you ask them, do you have time for a meeting? And you sit down with them for a coffee. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring a notebook. And in that meeting, you're going to start off like this, if true, okay? You're going to say, I love our team. I love what we accomplished together. I'm really optimistic about the future. That being said, as you know, it's really expensive to raise a family where we live. And I want to provide the best standard of living I possibly can for my family. As such, I just want to ask you to please let me know what criteria I need to fulfill in order to be considered for a raise or a promotion so I can add more value to our team. Okay? And they're going to tell you everything. And you're going to write down, come on, you guys do that with Sharpies, right? Sorry. You're going to write down everything they say. Okay? And then what you're going to do is thank them for their time. If you're in a coffee shop and the bill comes for coffee, you're immediately going to do this. I have alligator hands. I can't find my wallet. T-Rex can't do push-ups. That was a bad humor. Sorry. Thank them for their time. And then 3 to 6 months later, when they congratulate you again on a job well done, you're going to ask them, thank you, do you have time to meet? Then you're going to sit down with them. And you're going to start off with the stuff, if true, about, I love what we've accomplished as a team, yada, yada, yada. I love our company, blah, blah, blah. Then what you're going to do is you're going to say, 6 months ago, we sat down and you gave me some amazing advice, thank you, on what I need to accomplish in order to get promoted. And I'm very humbled to say that I've exceeded expectations in all 5 or 6 of the criteria, whatever it is. And it is expensive to raise family here. As a result, I'd like to ask you, please, for a promotion or a raise. That's what people do behind closed doors. Everybody else around you that you're working with that's in a more senior position than you, if you think it's unjustified that you've been overlooked for promotion, that's what happens. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. And I also want you to ask for feedback like this every 3 or 4 months, even if you don't think you're ready to be promoted. And the reason is, if you do this, then the probability of you getting fired or let go in the next round of layoffs, and they're always coming, the probability of you being let go goes down materially because there's no surprises. You know where you stand. You know what your weaknesses are, your development areas, etc. Yeah. And for those of you new to the corporate world, I also want you all to find mentors, okay? Yodas, meaning people in your company you can sit down with that are more senior than you in different departments, that's right, that can provide you with guidance. Yeah. And I want you all to mentor other people too. Because when you do that, you remind yourself of what the DNA subfabric is for excellence for you. And when one teaches, two learn. All right, let me get to the next question now. Manas from India, from Calcutta, where Mother Teresa's from. I love her. Wrote, "Good morning, my dear mentor. Hope all is well. Black shirt is back. So cool. Let's get rolling." Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like black, like Steve Jobs. Okay. All right, Eileen wrote, "Thank you for reminding everyone about 9/11, of course. There was a time when our worst enemies were outside the United States. Now it's against each other." Then you wrote, "United we stand, divided we fall, and in God we trust." Yeah. Yeah. Sad. Sad. Yeah. And then I asked earlier about what baseball card is this? It's a T206, Honus Wagner. And then Manas is right, $10 million, if it was in mint condition. Yeah. And the reason why baseball cards exist is, this is interesting. In the old days, when people used to smoke, the cigarettes in the soft packs would always bend. So they put these things in to stop them from bending. Hi. Okay, moving on to Matt, who wrote, "We need more productivity tips. The other day you mentioned MTC oil, butter in your coffee, and treadmill for standing desk. I purchased all 3. Awesome. Excellent. It works incredibly well." Now, one thing I want to say is for those of you that want to start using MCT oil in your coffee, I want you to be careful. So this is bulletproof coffee. I've been doing this since 2015. It helps you, be more productive, have better cognitive abilities, and speak gooder. But what you do is you use special coffee that hasn't been processed from a company called Bulletproof. And yeah, I know some of the stuff I do is placebo. Then you put in a little bit of MCT oil, which is coconut oil. Be careful with that, though, because you got to start with a tiny amount. Otherwise, you get stomach aches. And talk to your doctor first, right? You can go 1 drop one day, 2 drops, 3, 4, 5, etc. Rinse, lather, repeat till you're at a tablespoon. And then you put, and this sounds out there, but you put 1 tablespoon of grass-fed organic butter. And it tastes like you put milk or cream in it. And people have been putting butter in their coffee or tea for hundreds of years, and it works exceptionally well. The only problem with doing this is it suppresses your appetite. And so what I have to do is I have to force myself to eat throughout the day. Yeah. And you got to make sure that if you're going to drink coffee, to drink lots and lots of liquids as well. Okay. And try to finish one of these 4-gallon things every day if you can. If you can. Yeah. So that's one of the biohacks. In terms of my treadmill, and I swear by this, and I want more people to do this, please. So what I do is I get 15 to 20,000 steps a day in my studio. Okay, while I work. And it helps my productivity materially. And you might be thinking, well, Chris, how do you type? Well, I click this. Now you're going to see the messy part of my desk a bit. I bring this up here, and I type this way here. Look how messy that desk is. At least I'm transparent, right? But this really helps you. And it makes you feel like you just woke up every single hour of the day, which means you're 10 times more productive all day long. Yeah. In terms of another biohack I have, for many years, every Sunday I make 7 of these things. And I order it from Whole Foods, which I call Whole Paycheck, all the organic vegetables, and I juice this. There's kale in it, raw ginger root, etc. All the greatest antioxidants I can think of. And when I'm a little bit hungry, I'll take a sip every now and then. Yeah. All right. And anybody else have biohacks they want to share with us? Please let me know. Thanks. My latest thing is I put hydrogen tablets in my water. It gives me a little bit more energy, I think. We'll see. Okay. Next up, Gratitude of Wealth, GOW, not to be confused with God of War, great game, wrote, how can you build a great team for a tech startup? Let's say tech is ready to launch, but now we need to hire a C-suite ASAP, and we need them to be all stars, preferably with past wins exits. Yeah. So with public market investments, I used to work in venture capital years ago as well. With public market investments, there's always a notion that past performance is not indicative of future performance, of course. With private investments, it's not true. Past performance is indicative of future performance if you have the right management team. And so a lot of the top venture capital firms, they always love to invest in people that have had exits or were from a great management team, kind of like PayPal. The PayPal mafia kind of controls Silicon Valley now. A lot of startups have come out of that, including YouTube and many others, LinkedIn, et cetera. So you really want to focus on the management team. In terms of hiring people for you, so you want to incentivize everybody with options, stock options, right? Golden handcuffs too. So everybody is incentivized to work together, okay? And you want to hire slowly and fire quickly. And I know that's a harsh thing to say, and I don't practice what I preach. I take a little bit too long to let people go. But if somebody has a negative attitude and is bringing down others in your corporation or your department, they can't stay. You need all the team to be in alignment. Everybody's got to have a positive attitude as well. And it can be expensive to start a company. So what I want you to do is write a business plan first. I can help you with that. And then raise as much money as you can when you can, because it's a big distraction, to bring on the best employees. Pay them enough of a base salary so they won't leave, but lock them in for 4 or 5 years, at least with stock options, meaning they get options they can't cash except every 4 years, or if the company ever goes public, that is. Yeah. And you want to look at your skill gaps as well. And what you want to do is, if, say, your gaps include tech experience, and say you're creating a search engine type company. Well, in addition to, of course, hiring people that used to work at Google, you want to find people to be on your board that worked at Google. And it's really easy to do. I'll explain how in a second. But you want that because you want to assuage investor concerns that you don't know what you're doing. And so Mark Zuckerberg, for example, who never started a company before, when he launched Facebook, and we do a case study on this in my MBA degree program, but when he launched Facebook, he didn't have much experience. And so he brought on people with experience, like Peter Thiel, who's a co-founder of PayPal, as well as Sean Parker and Justin Timberlake. Actually, just Sean Parker, for those of you who saw Social Network. Yeah. But you surround yourself with people that have done it before. Now, how the heck do you get somebody from Google or another company to join your board for free? Well, what you're going to do is, step one, you're going to make an amazing LinkedIn profile, which is core to what I do in my company. Okay. Step two, you're going to set up informational meetings with people that work at Google that have something in common with you. Okay. And the way you're going to do it is as follows. Okay. You're going to do an advanced search on LinkedIn, and this is a great way to get a job as well. And you're going to enter in Google as a company they work for and see if there's anybody that works at Google that went to your high school, is from your hometown, went to your undergrad, or you have something in common with. Then you're going to send them an email that says exactly this. And never send emails because nobody opens emails, but all of you have read every email you've ever received. The email is going to say this: John, hope all is well. I also went to the Toronto French School, and I'm also from Mississauga, and I also went to McGill. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee or a quick Zoom call. Thanks a lot, Chris. That's it. You're going to list a couple things you have in common with them and nothing more. You're not going to say why you want to meet. And that's not unethical. But if you say, I'm looking for a job, or I'm looking to get advice, or what, just don't do it. You want an element of surprise there. And if you think you can't get an informational meeting or an interview with somebody this way, then I want you to consider this. Let's say it's 20 years in the future, okay? And you're way more successful than you already are today. And somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn that really reminds you of yourself when you're younger. And they say, John, hope all is well. I also went to the same high school as you, same undergrad. I'm from the same hometown, and I work in the Bay Area, or wherever you live now. please let me know if you have time for a Zoom meeting or coffee. Thanks a lot. Would you take that meeting? Of course you would, because you're helping yourself in hindsight. And I want you guys to do this over and over and over again. It's like dating, man. You only have to be right in business one time. And as you know, Michael Jordan, unlike LeBron James, who is not as good as Michael Jordan, younger people, that's right. But Michael Jordan said, I failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. So keep trying, keep networking. You want to work at Google? Set up 25 informational meetings with people that work at Google using my methodology. And also teach you how to sell yourself as well in interviews. This works because every time you see a job opening online for any company, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting the job. Who gets the job? It's somebody that knows someone at the company. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are more important than product knowledge. Yeah. Okay. And then Fat Bastard wrote, why is the Treasury buying up so many long-term bonds? I didn't know that. And if they are, I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. When I see your name, though, I'm smiling only because I'm thinking of that Austin Power movie. Get in my belly. Manas wrote, the United States has called for more 100% tariffs on India. Why kill best friend of the United States? What is the point? And he is not joking. Tariffs are affecting us not as much as Americans, but why? Yeah. So when it comes to Donald Trump, my dad taught me this. He said, focus on what Trump does, not on what he says, right? And so as I've mentioned many times before, he's love him or hate him, he's a master negotiator, okay? He can get a deal done. Usually when two people negotiate, one party says, I want this, other party says, I want this, and they meet in the middle. With Trump, it's different. One party says this, he says this, and they meet over here. It's negotiations. And we don't know what the economic fallout's going to be. But perhaps several decades from now, we'll look back and say it was brilliant. Yeah. But I know that America is best friends with India. That's for sure. World's biggest democracy. Yeah. Okay. Follow-up question from last week. How to stay safe from AI when opening are getting lower and mid and top managers are getting axed too. Yeah, it's hard. So a couple things. So Jensen Huang, the brilliant founder and CEO of NVIDIA, said, if you're in university, don't study computer science. Okay, don't study programming. Don't be a developer, because AI is perfect to replace that job. And I'm seeing it here in real time. I'm on the front lines here in the Bay Area. Companies like Facebook, Salesforce, all these big employers are letting thousands of people go, especially junior entry-level developers, because AI is doing all of this. So how do you protect yourself? I want you to try and disrupt yourself using AI. Why? Because you can be 2 to 5 to 10 times more productive if you use AI the right way. Disrupt yourself before the marketplace does. And it's similar to what Reed Hastings, the brilliant founder and former CEO of Netflix, did. Many years ago, Netflix was a DVD rental service. You get DVDs in the mail. Of course, he knew that 5 years into the future, that would be less relevant. And so he disrupted himself with a streaming service before the marketplace did so. Disrupt yourself as well. And I'm currently doing that as well. There's an AI version of myself that my clients get access to. And the large language model that it's based on is the 7,000 hours of virtual instructor-led training I've done on YouTube, as well as my 600 hours or so of course transcripts. It works exceptionally well. It works text-based, it works audio-based, and we just tested the video-based version. And you almost can't tell the difference. Embrace AI to disrupt yourself before the marketplace does. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next up, Jiaming, who's one of my clients in my accelerator program. Smart guy. He's an accounting student at Purdue University. His goal is to work for one of the Big Four. I'm looking forward to meeting you on September 27th here in the Bay Area. So Jiaming wrote, hi, Chris, my resume is done. My interview prep is ongoing. Excellent. No formal work yet. So I'm adding a short personal and goals section. For example, camping for a month with a small group to show teamwork and leadership. Yeah. So at the bottom of your resume, what I always recommend doing is have one line called interests. And the first interest you're going to list is a team-based sport because you're a team player, like baseball, football, basketball, whatever it is. Yeah. And I did that actually when I interviewed at a big hedge fund called Citadel. I'm going to show this to you. At the bottom of my resume, I had baseball. And the guy that started the equities division at Citadel, a guy named Carson Levitt, he interviewed me. And Carson Levitt's son, Carson Jr., was on my call last week. Carson Levitt Jr., if you're here, let me know. And Carson was looking at my resume. I was in Chicago. I think it was the summer 2004 interview. And he looked at the bottom of my resume, and it said interest baseball. And he said, oh, I didn't know you liked baseball. And so we talked, of course, we talked about stocks and stuff too. But we talked a lot about baseball. Sports is great boardroom talk, always. And quick side note, this is funny. Let me actually zoom in here on this angle here. But I worked for Carson at Citadel as well as a hedge fund called Pequot. And I had this in my office. My mom gave this to me when I was a kid. It's a broken baseball bat from Andre Dawson, who was an 1987 MVP in the National League for the Chicago Cubs. I had this in my office. And Carson called me at home. My boss called me at home. And my wife said, it's your boss. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And Carson, because the All-Star game was in Toronto that week in San Francisco, he said, Chris, you're not going to believe this. I'm right beside the office, and I just saw Andre Dawson in a restaurant. Do you want me to go to your office at One Market Plaza in the Spirit Tower? Do you want me to go to your office and get your bat and get him to sign it? And I was like, yes. Do I still have a job? I was like, yeah, for sure. So he went and he got it, and he got Andre Dawson to sign it. It's pretty cool. But just remember that sports is great boardroom talk. If you're going to put interest at the bottom of your resume, which I recommend doing, always list a team sport first so you're thought of as a team player. All right, next up, Mr. N wrote, financial modeling using Excel. Should we be learning to use Excel using the keyboard shortcuts or just use the mouse instead? Yeah, it depends what industry you're in. If you want to get into investment banking, you have to know how not to use a mouse, right? And my son, Andrew, who just got a job actually at a tier 1 investment bank, this is him here, he's 21 now. He is learning right now how to use Excel, how to use Excel without a mouse, okay? All right, and I've got an Excel course as well to help you with this. I'm going to take a short break. Here's my Excel video. I'll be right back. Thank you. I don't know how to say it, so I'm just going to say it. I'm teaching a comprehensive course on Microsoft Excel. But let me tell you, Excel is a magician's hat that pulls out solutions to problems you never thought possible. As a former beta tester wizard for Microsoft, I've created more spreadsheets than stars in the sky. Come with me on a journey that will blow your mind. We're going back to a time when accounting was done with, well, sand. This is 5,000 years ago when the ancient Mesopotamians ruled the world, and clay tablets were the ultimate tech. They invented writing and spreadsheets before spreadsheets even existed, with wedge-shaped writing called cuneiform pressed into clay tablets. They tracked their trades, taxes, and loans like it was nobody's business. Ugh! I think I'll add new shoes to the miscellaneous expenses column. And then came the paper ledger, the smartphone of the Middle Ages. The first tech revolution that changed the game for accountants and merchants everywhere. It allowed them to record several hundred financial transactions per day, a step up from clay tablets. And just when it seemed like spreadsheets had hit their limits, a new technology emerged. Computers with raw power at your fingertips. Programs like VisiCalc and Lotus 123 allowed for thousands of calculations per day. But with great power comes great responsibility. The undo function was yet to be invented. And today, Excel can do billions billions of calculations per day. So next time you open up the app, remember the journey it took to get here. And who knows where we'll go from here. Join me and unlock your full potential to wield thousands of years of history like a true wizard. All right, thank you for letting me take a quick break there. All right, next question is BYD versus Tesla. Thoughts? Yeah. So when I invest in a company, I always look at the founder, CEO. And Elon is debatable, but I think he's a founder. And I always invest in the management team first. I would never count out Elon Musk, okay? When he focuses on one thing really hard and doesn't get distracted with political stuff or buying Twitter, etc., nobody can execute on the planet like him. So I'm bullish on him. That being said, I think BYD is going to be bigger than Tesla. Way, 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 way bigger in the very long run. Way bigger. And the reason is, I don't know if you guys have seen a BYD car. It's unbelievable. It's like half the price of a Tesla, and it's better. You don't see them in America, though, because of massive import taxes on Chinese goods. I think it was about 2 years ago, the Canadian government put 100% tariffs on Chinese-made autos. But BYD is all over the world now. And they're vertically integrated to the extent that they have these massive ships that carry 7,000 cars at a time. And they have these and deliver them to South America, et cetera. And they have factories filled with robots, right? It's a better product, cheaper pricing point. They will dominate in the long run. But when it comes to geopolitics in the United States, I don't think you'll see too many BYD cars here anytime soon. Some people buy them in Mexico and drive them across the border. Yeah. But check it out. Do a search on BYD. Amazing car. And then Chinese communists are the best capitalists, they say. And the great thing about the Chinese government, is that they're very long-term focused, right? They don't make 1 quarter bets or 1 year bets. They make 30 to 100-year bets. And that's the best way to run a business and a country. Yeah. Although I despise communism. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Alexander wrote, I'm thinking better to invest in equities than investing in high yielding bonds. Yeah. I agree. If you want to buy bonds, what you can do is just buy AAA rated bond ETFs. Yeah. And if you're in the United States, I recommend you guys do this. Okay. Do your research first. But here's an investment I guarantee you'll never lose money on. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to treasurydirect.gov. Okay. And it's called Treasury Direct because you can only do what I'm showing you and buy directly from the government. Okay. And investment banks are not allowed to sell the product I'm about to show you. But what you're going to do is you're going to go here to Series I savings bonds. Okay. And you'll never lose money on this, even if there's deflation. It doesn't matter. And the way this works, I think you can put $10,000 max every 6 months. I think only if you're in the United States. But the way this works is every 6 months, the interest rate changes on this based on the rate of inflation. So the interest rates reset every May 1st and November 1st. And so if inflation is way higher on November 1st, then this is going to go up. If inflation is way lower, meaning interest rates are lower, I should say, then this will go down, but you will not lose money. I recommend everybody has this in their portfolio that can buy it. Yeah. All right. Next up, Malcolm, first time seeing the call. Hope you join us again. Welcome. Wrote, I'm going to use your template for evaluating a stock. What does geo-percent mean? I cannot seem to find this on the company's balance sheet. Yeah. So whenever you look at investing in companies, you need to look at what percent of revenue comes from different geographies. Okay. So if you go right here to the 100-step framework, which you can only access on my website, set up a call with my team by going to the link in the description. But geo-percent, it's here somewhere, right? I think here it is, geographic exposure. Yeah. You want to see what percent of revenue comes from different regions. And the only way to find that is to go to the 10K and then go directly to the footnotes. Okay, so 10K is the annual report. It's gold. It's kind of like an S1, but not as good. And in the 10K, when you look at the footnotes, you're going to see what the revenue exposure is geographically. And there's usually 10 different categories, more or less, of footnotes to look at. And I teach you all of them in my MBA degree program for my online courses. And the best way to learn this stuff, and I've got a spreadsheet for this as well for my clients, is to fill this out. Okay, you're going to enter in the name of the company you want to do research on. Then I ask you tons and tons of questions using AI. And then with the footnotes, you're going to read through the footnotes in order to find out what percent of revenue comes from different geographies and different verticals as well, if companies disclose that. Never invest in a company without looking at the footnotes. And after you fill all this out here, you get a one-page executive summary you can bring to your informational meetings. And you also get a massive, massive detailed report, 24 pages you can print out as well. Okay. I love my job. I don't have a job, I have a passion. And the way you know you found your passion is if it's 4 a.m, like what happened to me this morning, and you open your eye and you tell yourself, yes, I get to get up, instead of, damn it, I got to go to work. And that's what I'm here for, is to help you find your passion. In fact, I think of myself as your waiter. Okay, so when you go to a restaurant, okay, this is where I proposed to my wife, Christine, 25 years ago in Paris. She said yes. But when you go to a restaurant, you look at the whole menu, eh? You don't eat everything, but you choose 1 or 2 items to eat, but you see the whole menu. That's my job. I'm here to expose you to every type of job you can possibly think of, so that you can find your passion, and I can help you with your long-term goals and fill that gap in terms of helping you reinvent yourself, get that new job, new career, etc., or better yet, start your own company. Yeah. And then Manas wrote, keep the New York City background, looks cool. Thank you. Thank you. I was worried because you can kind of see through my shirt here a little bit. The green screen is not perfect. Yeah. But I'm experimenting with it as well. And I tried a couple others as well. I'll show them to you. But I like this one best, I think. Yeah. All right, let me get a vote from you guys here. Should I do green screen or not? So yes to green screen or no to green screen. Okay. Should I do green screen on future calls? Thank you. All right. Next question is, do you think Jerome Powell, who's the Federal Reserve chairperson, will be fired if he held rates again for being too stubborn? No, I don't think he will be. Trump is certainly threatening. I just don't think he'll be renewed, within the next 6 months to be Federal Reserve chairperson again. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I don't think that the United States government and legal system would allow that to happen. You've seen the precedent that occurred in the past couple of days. Trump tried to fire somebody affiliated with the Fed, and the courts overturned that. Yeah. And that's a good thing about the United States. There's a lot of checks and balances. Yeah. Okay. Fat Bastard wrote, I'm looking at TikTok comments to get a sense of the discourse is insane. Yes. It's terrifying. Charlie Kirk, God bless him, love him or hate him. He's a human being. He's got kids. And we have freedom of speech. And yeah, the comments on TikTok are disgusting. I don't care if you're left wing or right wing. This is a human being. Yeah. I still can't believe it happens. And then Manas wrote, violence on either side is bad. A young man left a young family. God bless him. Yeah. But being too much on the left or right is bad. Being apolitical is fine, but impossible nowadays. God bless all. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want you guys to all be careful also in terms of disclosing what your political affiliation is. Like a lot of my clients, I take a look at their LinkedIn profile to help them network, get a job, and they follow politicians. Don't do that. Because half the people will like you more than the other half. I don't know what half. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in terms of should I use green screen from now on, I've got 3 votes for yes, no votes for no so far. So I am going to use green screen unless somebody tells me otherwise. Okay. All right. Let me go on to the next question now. Next question is, do you think, go to this angle here, all right. Do you think this division of people will create more hate, but midterms are near, France is burning to so is Nepal. Young people are sick of dirty politics, I guess. Yeah. It's such a conundrum, man. Because on the one hand, you want freedom of speech. On the other side, though, there's so much hatred out there, right? On both sides. And I look at TikTok comments, it terrifies me. So I don't know. I think maybe a solution is this. I think it's incumbent upon the social media platforms to make you register, okay, with a real email address, okay? And if you register with a real email address and perhaps your name or a picture, then you can start commenting. But I don't know. Like I'm kind of confused about this because you want privacy laws to be relevant longer term. I don't know. Maybe the solution is before you comment on something or register with a social media platform, you have to upload your driver's licenses as well. Yeah. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? And the precedent for this, it's really interesting, is as I mentioned earlier, Google. So many years ago, Google created this failed product called Google Plus, which was a social media product. But by doing that, what they did was they also made it mandated that you cannot comment on YouTube videos unless you have a Gmail account, right? And when that happened, the amount of hate speech on YouTube went down, and the comments went down materially. So I think that TikTok needs to take a page from Google's playbook as well. Hate speech on Google or on YouTube is a lot lower than it is on other social media platforms. Yeah. Yeah. But I think what happened with Charlie Kirk, God bless him, regardless of whether you're left wing or right wing, is so disgusting that I think there's going to be some sort of legislation that is going to change the way we comment on social media. Yeah. Oh. All right. Next up, Alexandra wrote, since your lifetime, have world become more aggressive in terms of civil unrest, wars, etc., or have things always been the same? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the world is a safer place since 9/11. 24 years ago, it seems like yesterday when it happened. And the reason why I think that the world is a safer place is because, the number of incidents that have occurred in the United States and globally has not materially increased. Yeah. Of course, given the Patriot Act, we have given up, some of our privacy. But I don't mind giving up some privacy if the government is going to, use Palantir or other products and find out if an attack is going to occur and they overturn it beforehand. Yeah. It's a tough call. What do you guys think? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and Blake wrote, this is a Honus Wagner card. You're right. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, what do you think of Oracle's, $100 billion made by Larry Ellison in a day? Do you think the gap between the rich and the poor is getting way too wide? Yeah. So what happened with Oracle was they got a massive contract from OpenAI. So people are now starting to think, and they have been, and I've been saying this for about a year now, that Oracle is the quintessential AI company. Because what's at the epicenter of AI? It's data. Right, and Oracle is the biggest database company on the planet. In terms of Larry Ellison's net worth, he was briefly higher than Elon Musk. He's since pulled back. Yeah. And when you analyze financial statements, one of the most important things you can look at is called bookings. Okay, don't just look at the income statement. So when a company reports earnings, they release revenue and earnings, and if they beat revenue and earnings, sometimes the stock goes down. Why does that happen? Because sophisticated investors look at the balance sheet, and on the balance sheet there's something called deferred revenue, which is a liability, which means how much business was booked in the quarter. And if deferred revenue goes up, it means the pipeline for future business is awesome. And so Oracle's deferred revenue is going through the roof. And so bookings is revenue plus a change in deferred revenue. Remember that. Yeah, I can go into more details now if you want me to. All right, next question I've got here is a question for you troubling me. Assume if I have a portfolio of $2 million that makes 8% a year, should I withdraw this extra money from yield for daily expenses or not? Yeah. So I would always, the best way for me to answer that is to tell you to always live below your means. Okay? Always, always, always. And the easiest way to live below your means is to have money taken out of every single paycheck, and put into your retirement savings. I want you guys to max out your retirement savings as well as your educational savings programs. And I also want you guys to all own a house and own investment properties. I know times are tough. Not everybody can do this now, but that's a mindset you got to have. Okay. And I want you all to read 2 books. The first book I want to recommend, which is life-changing, is called The Millionaire Next Door. And it's about this dude who's a millionaire, but you wouldn't know it. He just lives below his means. The second book I want you to read as a proud Canadian is called The Wealthy Barber. It's a Canadian book about a barber who's a multimillionaire for living below his means. Yeah. So read those books if you can, please. Thanks. Okay, next up, Alexandra wrote, can it be a possibility that ETFs invested in gold gets into a fraud? When you come to know ETFs are fraud. Yeah, gold is being stolen. Yeah. So I trust the gold ETF, but before, ticker GLD, I do. But before you invest in any asset, okay, any stock, you got, and this is where the green screen's not going to work out, but you got to read the investment offering memorandum. So for Facebook, for example, and I do a case study, this is my MBA degree program, and I own Facebook, my venture capital fund, when it was private. But for Facebook, you read the S1 before you invest. Before you invest in a company, you read the 10K. Before you invest in any ETF, you read the investment offering memorandum. You need to read this stuff to find out what all the risks are. Now, in terms of could it be a fraud? I don't think it is. But that's why I mandate, and I recommend, highly recommend, that you never have more than 5% of your portfolio in any one particular stock. Okay, ever. It's good risk management. So if you're going to invest in individual assets, meaning individual stocks, and if we think of GLD as a stock, then I want you to have at least 20 positions, 5% each. And I also don't want you to have more than 20 or 25% exposure to one sector in your portfolio, meaning technology, retail, healthcare, industrial, cyclical, etc. Yeah, good risk management, please. All right. Wow. Everybody is saying yes to the green screen. Wow. Okay, cool. We'll stick with this then. Thank you. Okay, the customer's always right. All right, next question is, gold is up almost 100% in the last 3 years, yet the markets are doing so well. Why and how if markets blow up again? Yeah. So the reason gold is up materially is it's quite simply this, okay? You can't create more gold. There's a limited supply on it, okay? There is a no limit of supply of this garbage here. The government has increased the amount of this stuff out there by about 50% since Q1 of 2020, right? And so you're kind of being encouraged by governments around the world not to keep your money in cash. It's the worst investment you can make. Case in point, I do a case study of this in my MBA degree program. But case in point is, I visited Jerusalem years ago, 2017 actually. It was a good trip. And when I was there, I bought a coin, okay, from the year 30 AD. It's got Pontius Pilate on one side. And you'd think I'd paid a fortune for it. It cost me next to nothing. And the reason is because they made too much of that damn stuff. The Roman Empire years later failed because they printed too much currency. So since the beginning of time, the biggest loser investment has been to keep your money in cash. Yeah. And then you're saying, will gold do well or not in the long run? I don't know the path, but I know the destination for the investments I invest in. Much, much higher. And before you invest in any asset class or any stock, you always need to ask yourself this question. In 5 years, will this investment and this company and the sector it's in be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And that will stop you from getting seduced into buying value traps, meaning stocks that are cheap for a reason. Yeah. Yeah, you wrote, in the past day, some people made $2,000 for every $5 invested in Oracle leaps and calls. Is this an anomaly or normal? Oh, it's certainly an anomaly, only because Oracle jumped, I don't know, about 30% or so yesterday. Yeah. And for those of you who want to learn options, I teach that as well. Yeah. I think I teach just about every topic now. Yeah. All right. And if there's any topic I haven't taught yet, let me know here in the chat, and I'll work on creating courses for that. You guys are my customer always. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. What do you think of the Nepal chaos this week? Gen Z destroyed a beautiful country. Corruption and poverty too were issues. Yeah. I'm a fan of freedom of speech, but not when it comes to violence. Yeah. And I don't think governments are strict enough in condemning violence, especially gun violence. And I don't want to get too political here. Yeah. And Manas is right. Earlier on, I asked who said a certain quote. It was Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. Yeah. All right, next question is from Alexandra, who's asking a lot of great questions. Wrote, do you think wars are essential as it keeps countries functioning in check? Without wars, countries become more corrupt or lazy or even disunited. No, I don't know. I don't agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with having weapons and not using them, of course. You know, the Cold War, is scary. A lot of people thought that, especially with the Cuban Missile Crisis, that there's going to be nuclear war. But with the Cold War, Soviets had a lot of weapons, so the United States, and everybody knew it was mutual destruction if one country launched against another. So you can argue that it was a good thing that people had weapons. Yeah, I'm a pacifist. In terms of what happened in Iran, well, I'm going to go there. Here I go. So I think it's a good thing what the United States did with stealth bombers. It's a good thing because, Iran, has repeatedly said, we want to wipe a certain country off the face of the planet. So I think the world's a safer place now the United States did that. And it's also, and nobody died in that bombing, I don't think. But it's also a safer place because by the United States doing this, it might keep some countries in check and be a little bit less likely to be disruptive, so to speak. Yeah. And I'm completely in favor of what Poland did the other day, shooting down Russian drones over its own airspace. Yeah. But look, I think that all the problems in the world can be fixed with one solution. And that solution is education. And Nelson Mandela, one of my heroes, said education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. And Malala, who tragically got shot in the head in 2012. But Malala, who's another one of my heroes, also said this. With guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do. I really do humbly believe that with solid education, accessible to everybody, that conflicts go down materially. Because I think war, racism, all this bullshit we're seeing with comments on TikTok in the past 24 hours is because of one thing, a lack of education. And then Blake, good to see you, brother. It's been a while, man. Blake, I want to see you today in half an hour of my weekly call. It's been a while. Blake used to work for Bell Canada in Canada. He's starting a company now. It's been a while, man. I'd love to see you my Zoom call starting in 30 minutes. Yeah. And you wrote, my desk is chaotically organized. It is. And it was perfectly clean, as many of you saw at the beginning of this call. It's slowly getting messier as well. And when I used to work at Goldman, I used to always clean my desk before I left work every day. A clean desk is a happy desk. But look at the chaos. This is behind the scenes, all this stuff here. Yeah. And y'all don't want to see my floor. It's even messier. Okay. Whoa. Give me a second here. Okay. All right, next up, Manas wrote, a lot of young people, especially under 35, are addicted to trading options, buying and selling them short term. It is good for Robinhood, it is, but bad for society. What do you think about it? Yeah. So I was in discussions with Robinhood a couple of years ago to license my financial services products for, I think it was $100,000 per year or so. I don't want to do it. And you'll notice that I don't really have anybody endorsing my channel. I've turned down a lot of people because I want to stay pure and true to all of you. In terms of trading options, I don't recommend it. Now, the reason I don't recommend it is because for retail investors, I say it with love of my heart, is there's very sophisticated hedge funds, some of which I've worked for in the past, that thoroughly understand risk management, variance analysis, stats, historical versus implied volatility, and they take advantage of us, the retail investors, when we try to invest in options. Okay. Also, if you're going to invest in options, I just want you to do two things. Okay. You can either buy puts or calls. That's it. A put, say on ticker KO, Coca-Cola. If I buy a put on Coca-Cola and I own the stock, if the stock goes down, I make money. If the stock goes up, I lose this much. That's it. Okay. With a call, say I invest this much. If Coke goes up, I make an unlimited amount of money. If Coke goes down, I lose this much. That's it. If you get involved in very complex option structures, okay, like what's going to happen is you're going to lose money. And the reason is because when you sell options, when you're on the other side of that trade, meaning you underwrite options, what happens is you can get randomly assigned. Okay, a lot of people don't realize this. And what that means is you can lose a lot more money than what you invested. Yeah. And if you are going to invest in options, what I recommend doing is this. Step one, what I recommend doing is I want you to do deep research on companies. Like fill out this entire spreadsheet here. And if you see material upside in the stock in the long run, then you can buy leaps, meaning calls that expire in 1, 2, or 3 years. And when you look to invest in stocks, and when I invest in stocks, what I do, and quite often I'm wrong, is I try to buy small and mid-cap stocks that I think are a 5 by 5. What does that mean? That means a 500% return within 5 years. Am I often wrong? Oh my God, most of the time. But if I'm right and the stock is only up a couple 100%, I do exceptionally well. And then once you do that research, meaning looking at fundamentals, valuation, technicals in that order, then what you're going to do on the underlying stock, once you've done the research, you see a lot of upside. Then what you're going to do is you can buy calls. Okay, calls that expire in 1, 2, or 3 years, meaning leaps, right? And if you do due diligence on stocks and you see less than 15% upside per year, don't waste your time. Just buy the S&P 500 instead. Yeah. And you got to be long-term focused. No day trading, guys. Okay, it doesn't work. Otherwise, we'd be able to successfully name many day traders that have been successful for decades. What are their names? We don't know. Yeah. Okay. Next question is the BOJ, meaning Bank of Japan, which is kind of like the Federal Reserve of the United States. The Bank of Japan, and I think the Minister of Finance as well, or the MOF. Is looking to raise rates. The PM resigned. Right wing is on the rise in Japan. How does that affect America and the world in general, long term, for 3 years? Yeah, I don't really think it's going to have a massive impact on the world. I think that Japan has a lot of structural issues. It breaks my heart because when I first started working, the first IPO I worked on, I was a grunt, was at Goldman Sachs. I worked in the NTT Docomo IPO. Okay, and very small people working that deal. Terrible humor, sorry. This is the biggest IPO in history at the time, $18.3 billion in October of 1998. But Japan was an incredible growth market years ago. The problem with Japan right now, it's really, really sad. The problem with Japan is that they have 130 million people right now, and it's going to go down to about 80 million in the next couple of decades. They're in secular decline. It's sad. Nobody's getting married anymore. Nobody's having kids. It's really, really sad. So I think the dent in the universe, or the impact that Japan's going to have on the rest of the world, the global economy, is going to continue to go down. Yeah, it's really, really sad. And it's interesting because after World War II, and Michael Porter, great economist, Harvard Business School professor, he wrote a great book called Can Japan Compete? And he stipulated this. After World War II, the Japanese economy was in shambles, of course. And the Japanese government created incentive programs for every sector in the economy except for 2. And the 2 sectors of the economy got nothing. Are autos, as Tesla I know, and consumer electronics. And if you look at Japanese companies today, the 2 most dominant sectors are autos and consumer electronics. And what I think is that companies need to stand on their own 2 feet. Survival of the fittest. I don't believe in government intervention. I'm more of a libertarian. It's kind of like a kid that gets a high allowance for their entire life. You need corporate Darwinism. Yeah. I love Japan. And I'm going there with my wife and my 3 sons, going there this Christmas, actually. Yeah, I can't wait. But Japan is still a player in fixed income markets. So the Japanese government owns more United States government debt than any other country, at 2.7% of all United States debt. The United States has over 36 trillion in debt. 2.7% of that is Japan. Yeah, I'm so sorry. $2.7 trillion. Yeah. Second is I think it's China with like 700 billion or something. Yeah. So if Japan wanted to, they could really impact interest rates in the United States. And one of the reasons, so back in April, Trump, announced these tariffs, and the markets were in free fall. And that threat, a month or two later, what happened was the Chinese government got together with the Japanese government and maybe the Canadian government, who's prime minister right now. Mark Carney is the former head of the Bank of Canada and former head of the Bank of England. They got together, and what they did was they sold tons and tons of their bonds. And we all know there's an inverse relationship between bonds and yields. And that made bond prices go down, United States treasuries, and interest rates go up. Right? And that was kind of a signal to say, hey, America, don't mess around too much with your tariffs. And as a result, I think that's what influenced Trump to kind of back off and say, okay, we'll hold off a little bit. Yeah. Again, don't focus on what Trump says, but what he does. How do you know if a CEO has got it or not while you're investing? Yeah. Also, what was your worst startup investment that you thought would be the best, and vice versa? Thank you. Yeah. So a great CEO, okay, is a great salesperson. They get you excited about what they do. And quite often, so when I was a kid growing up in Canada, I remember the cover of Time and Newsweek in the 80s. Was the downfall of the American student. American students are 50th in the world in math and 50th in the world in sciences. America's going nowhere, they said. But what people fail to realize, and I only figured this out once I started, when I worked in venture capital during the evenings, I would teach at several Bay Area universities. I figured out that American students, regardless of where they're born, because half my students are born overseas, but American students are number one in the most important economic category nobody ever talks about, which is confidence. And with confidence, you can change the world. With confidence, you can convince somebody to invest in your company. With confidence, you can sell anything. And so I think the best CEOs are the ones that are very confident and are passionate about what they're doing. And they're convincing. So I'll give you a couple examples. Number one, Mark Benioff. Mark Benioff leveraged the media, and you got to be able to leverage the media using controversy because it's free PR. He leveraged the media a lot. Back in 1999 when he left Oracle, the youngest vice president in history at 26. To start Salesforce. What he did was he said software is dead. And he was on all the financial television shows and, tech journals and all that stuff saying software is dead. And he's so passionate about what he was doing. He's the largest employer now in San Francisco, right? And a great humanitarian. But he made something so boring you can't see, feel, or touch like cloud computing sound awesome. And it's the same thing with Sir Richard Branson. Everything he says sounds awesome. Every company he starts sounds awesome because he can sell. It's the same thing with Warren Buffett. A lot of people think, oh my God, he's a great investor. That's why he's successful. No, he's a great investor because he knows how to sell. And he also knows how to communicate in a simplistic manner. If you can take complicated topics, make them sound simple and entertaining, you can be very wealthy. And this is my license plate, edutainment. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Okay, I try to be educational and entertaining. Laugh at me, not with me, always, please. Yeah, but you got to learn how to sell, and that's what a great CEO is. Yeah, and so a lot of times when I'm meeting with startups, when I used to work in venture capital, what I do is I try to assess. I think to myself as they're presenting to me. I think, okay, I'm a customer, a potential customer. Am I excited about what they're talking about or not? And you always invest in a great management team first and the business model second. Yeah. So what you always want to do, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. I'm going to unplug this. Okay. That was a senior moment. That was actually my iPhone. Sorry. Okay. The older I get, the better I was. Yeah, but the bottom line is you always want to invest in a management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. Yeah. In terms of my best investments, so I've had a bunch. I invested in Facebook when it was private, Palantir when it was private as well. But probably the best one I did was when I was 19, when I did my first venture capital investment. And I invested in a company on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And eventually I worked on the TSX IPO when I was at Goldman Sachs in 02. But it was a company called Spectral Diagnostics. Ticker was SDI. And I invested when it was a private company. They made this test kit that would tell you within 30 seconds whether or not you're having chest pains or a heart attack. I don't think the company went anywhere, but I did extraordinarily well, and I sold it for a handsome profit. Yeah. In terms of worst investments, God, we don't have enough time to talk about that because I'd talk forever. But generally speaking, it's because I didn't do my own due diligence, and I listened to the CEO before doing my own research. CEOs are the best salespeople on the planet. Do your own research first, please. Yeah, and there's plenty of IPOs I've invested in the past because the salesperson was a great CEO, and I didn't do as well as I wanted to. Yeah. Okay, and I do have to wrap up today's call soon. For those of you in my subscription programs, as you all know, we have our weekly 3-hour and 20-minute Zoom call after this. If you guys want to join my program or learn more, you can always go to harounventures.com, this website here. And at the very bottom, stuff to see, but you click book a meeting, and you can book a meeting with somebody on my team as well. Okay. And we have openings. I have a sales force that takes all these calls. And if it's a good fit, you can join my program. Everything I teach has got a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. So anyway, it's fun. All right. Do you think Microsoft and Google will be obsolete as OpenAI is making LinkedIn of their own with AI recruitment? What kind of a guy is Sam Altman anyway? A rebel leader or crazy good seller or both? I'd say both. He's a great salesperson. So before OpenAI, he was the president of Y Combinator, which is the best incubation firm, which a lot of my students actually have startups have applied to recently. And this incubation firm led to a lot of great companies Sequoia invested in, like Airbnb, et cetera. I think he's a great salesperson. In terms of the future of Google, in the future of Microsoft, both will do well. Keep in mind, they're not just Microsoft is more in LinkedIn, and Google is more than just the Google search engine. They both have their own cloud empires, and Oracle is starting to take share as well. So Microsoft. They have Azure, and then Google has their own cloud products as well, right? So they're well diversified. Yeah. But I will say that Google is going to become a little bit less relevant over time. And from a consumer behavior perspective, I'll speak for myself and for many of you as well. I don't use Google very much to search anymore. I always go to OpenAI and I ask a question, then I say, be brief. Okay. I go to ChatGPT. Type my question or my search prompt, and then I type, be brief. Explain to a child, which is my maturity. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then 3Artiv wrote, the Excel commercial is amazing. Thank you. I had a lot of fun doing it. Actually, that commercial is now on IMDb. And hats off to Adad Warda, who is my producer. And he actually made 11 videos that are just as good as that for my other products as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Charitra wrote, between the Attorney General and the SEC, of whom should you be aware of as a hedge fund? I mean, I would say both, but the Attorney General is kind of like one person or a small group. SEC is massive. So I would say SEC a bit more so. Yeah. All right, Nintinto, it's been a while. Good to see you again. Wrote, I was wondering about product management. Can you tell me more and potential pathways to start? Yeah, that's kind of a tough question for me to answer. What I recommend doing is, I think you're one of my clients in my MBA program. I want you to go to the venture capital bootcamp part of the MBA program. If you're thinking about a startup, and complete this entire spreadsheet, and then really focus on the financials, et cetera, for your business plan. And if you have more questions, by all means, please ask me in about 15 minutes on our weekly 3-hour and 20-minute Zoom call for my clients. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Logix, who wrote, hi, Chris. What's your take on high yield ETFs such as MSTY by Yield Max? I see lots of people shilling them, but others say they're bad investments. Yeah, whenever you see high yielding instruments, period, you got to read the investment offering memorandum. Always, always, always. Okay. And just do a search for investment offering memorandum or prospectus in the name of the ETF or any asset class for that matter. And the reason I think they're quite risky is whenever you see a high dividend yield on something, like really high, it means it was a one-time dividend or it's not sustainable, or the market is saying that, hey, this company could have debt issues in the future and could one day maybe file for Chapter 11. Always do your own research. Yeah. And I don't like any ETF that uses a lot of options as well, because you might be paying more in taxes, but more importantly, it was Warren Buffett who said derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction, and I completely believe in that. Yeah, just be careful. All right, next up, Conrad wrote, hey, Chris, hey, bud. My in-laws suggested, by the way, when you guys get married, when you have kids, the outlaws become the in-laws pretty fast. I'm just kidding, sorry. All right. My in-laws suggest buying a house instead of renting. They are 100% right. Yes. It's the best investment you can possibly make. Yeah. Think about how much money you're going to save. So, and I'll show it to you very, very quickly why you need to buy. Okay. So let me go over here to my real estate product, which my clients get access to. Okay. So let's say that you spend, I don't know, $1,500 a month renting. Okay. Over 50 years. Right. And if you think real estate prices are going to go up, I don't know, 10% in the long run, including the tax incentives. Okay. Then what does that mean? That means $1,500 invested every month for 50 years at a 10% return is $25 million. Okay. Here's the math right here. So your in-laws are 100% correct. Yeah. And by the way, for those of you that are getting married, if you're, here I go, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for this. If your wife ever says to you, hey, do you want to have dinner with my parents this weekend? And if your answer is, sure, honey, but didn't we already have dinner with them 2 weeks ago? All she heard was, you hate my parents, so be careful. I'm just kidding. That did not happen on my end. I'm just trying to make you guys laugh. At me, not with me. All right. And with respect to your in-laws, you're saying buy a house instead of renting. They're saying that I'm wasting my money, but any savings I get gets invested in the S&P and dividend stock. What's your take? And then you wrote cheers from Canada. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so they're right. Think about how much money you're wasting on rent every single month. And I know real estate prices are high right now in Canada because of the idiot Trudeau administration. That's right. But in the long run, you're going to make money. I promise you, you will. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Blake wrote, if social media companies are in it for money, they do not do anything because they will lose eyes. Yeah. I think government regulation is coming. I think what happened, God bless Charlie Kirk and his family. Regardless of your left wing or right wing, I don't give a damn. You know, it was disgusting what happened. But I think regulation is coming. I think this is going to be a tipping point to the extent that hate speech might be somewhat regulated. Rightly so, I think, even though I'm a libertarian. It's tough, right? But I think it's going to be somewhat regulated when it comes to social media. Yeah. And then Blake wrote that The Wealthy Barber is good. Yeah, it's a good read. Everybody read it, please. Yeah. All right, moving on to, and I got to go in a couple of minutes, moving on to Manas, who wrote, do you think day trading and gambling being legal are destroying U.S. youth and mid-aged people? Men are gambling 401k, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So, I mean, day trading can't be made illegal. I don't agree with it. It's an open and free market. In terms of gambling, I'm pretty opinionated. Like, there's a couple of things I don't agree with. I don't believe in the legalization of marijuana because and that's why I'll never invest in marijuana stocks. And a lot of times people pitch that to me because I think that leads to other drugs longer term, including fentanyl. When it comes to online gambling, I don't think it should be legal. I don't think it should be legal at all. I mean, think about it. There are not casinos in every single city in the world. There's a reason for that. It has to be regulated because you lose your shirt, right? The house wins most of the time. So I don't think that online gambling should be legal. I'm completely against it. Yeah. And then Manas wrote, hate is easy to spread, but love is tough. Make love, not wars, which John Lennon said. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then I asked for feedback. Should I use green screen or not going forward? And then Folk Style Scrub wrote, moving clouds are nice. I guess the clouds are moving here a bit as well, right? It's on a loop. So yes to this. Yeah. And now you guys can see, but I think there's a bit of smoke here from my coffee. Yeah. All right. I will stick with green screen from now on. Thank you for the feedback, everybody. Okay. Okay. Next question is getting an MBA from a certain school worth it? I'm taking your Udemy course. Yeah, I have a Udemy course I published in January of 2016 called An Entire MBA in One Course. It's 7.5 hours, sold over 500,000 copies. Is getting an MBA from a certain school worth it? Yeah. So here's what I recommend. Okay, so the cost of an MBA, is ridiculous, and I think it's a waste of money. Okay, and I got this for a speech I'm giving soon. It's working with the green screen. Cool, sort of. All right. So the cost of an MBA is $100,000. It's a waste of money. And before you do an MBA at a good school, and only go if you get into like a top 10 school, whatever, if at all. Before you even think about applying to do an MBA, I want you to do the following. Okay, ask yourself why. The reason probably is, I don't know, you want to make more money or work in a different industry. Well, if you want a career change, I want you to try a network first. I want you to set up 100 networking meetings. And if after all 100 networking meetings was cost you nothing, you still can't get the job of your dreams, then yeah, consider getting an MBA. And I want you to think of all 100 of those informational meetings as saving you $1,000. It's $100,000 to get an MBA at a minimum. Yeah. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are always more important than product knowledge. Okay, guys, I see there's a lot more questions. What I do have to do is end this call, and then I'm going to move on to my weekly webcast, where I talk to tons and tons of students from all over the world over a Zoom meeting. Go to the link in the description if you want to set up a call with somebody on my team to learn more about this. And I'm going to end with some breaking news. Here we go. Hello, my name is Bob Burgundy from Haroun News Network, that's HNN, and I've got breaking news for you. It looks like technology behemoth Apple is trying to buy Nintendo. Breaking news, breaking news. I don't know if the deal will go through. I have to ask a number of our strategic advisors here to help us out to find out if this deal, in fact, will go through. And so the first strategic advisor that I want to ask is an expert in economics management and strategy. He works at a consulting firm called McKinsey, and his name is Chip Patterson. Chip, what are your thoughts? Yes, thank you, Bob, for that introduction. This is an extraordinary deal, and I think it might make sense, but I'm not really sure yet. And so here at McKinsey & Company, we pride ourselves on advising the most incredible companies and government agencies in the world. And so by the end of this MBA degree program, my fellow classmates here will help me to analyze if this extraordinary deal makes a lot of sense or not. Thank you, and cheerio. Thank you, Chip. The next expert we're going to ask is a finance and accounting expert who works at an investment bank called MHS, Morgan Haroun Sachs. His name is Gordon Lizard. Gordon, what are your thoughts on this deal? Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it, So here at Morgan Haroun Sachs, MHS actually, We're going to do a really deep dive to understand the financial statements of, Nintendo and Apple. And I pride myself on being an amazing investment banker. And we're actually going to have a lot of my fellow students here during the Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program help me to build out the financials. And don't worry, I know a lot of us don't understand how finance and accounting works, but we will by the end of this MBA degree program. In fact, here's what we're going to do, We're going to figure it all out together. We're going to create the financial model, meaning the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, etc., for Nintendo as well as for Apple. And it's a bit complicated because Nintendo's an international company, and so their financial statements are a little bit different from Apple, but we're going to figure it out, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to value the company using discounted cash flow, as well as price earnings multiple, price to revenue, and other metrics as well. And so that by the end of this MBA degree program, we will know how much Apple should potentially pay for Nintendo. Thanks, Bob. Back to you. Thank you, Gordon. Our next expert is somebody that knows a lot about sales, marketing, and communication, and his name is Stephen Ive. Stephen, you work at Apple. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. Thanks. It's going to be important for me to convince our board and shareholders to approve of the deal. And I'm not much of a presenter, but I know that a lot of my fellow students here in the Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program are going to be able to help me to learn how to present much better in the SMC classes, that's sales, marketing, and communication classes, so that they'll give me advice, and together we'll be able to learn how to present to the board of Apple and the shareholders to convince them to the deal makes sense or if it doesn't. Thank you, Bob. Back to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Our next expert is an entrepreneurship expert named Tony Shark. Now, Tony was about to sign an exclusive contract with Apple for his virtual reality goggles and his company, Shark Virtual Reality. Tony, is this deal still going through for you, or because Nintendo has a great VR product, does Apple no longer need you, Tony? And what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So I was supposed to sign this exclusive contract with Apple for my, Shark virtual reality goggles. I think our product is a lot better than Nintendo's. And in the entrepreneurship track of this MBA degree program, my fellow students and I are going to work on a way to sell this product to Apple. And so this product's amazing. There's a hardware component to it, which has low margins. And then there's a software component to it with media, which is where you stream it, and it's really high margins. We got a great product here, much better than anybody else in the market. And so, last thing I'll say, Bob, and thanks again for having me on your show, is that by the end of this MBA degree program, my fellow classmates and I will be armed with this, and we'll have what it takes to be able to succeed in business and take our careers to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our next guest is somebody off the street here, a random person I just met whose goal is to work at Apple. I want to ask you, from a personal growth perspective, how do you think you can get a job at Apple? So this guy's name here is Joe Jobs. How are you going to get that job?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Bob. I really appreciate it. So my dream has always been to work at Apple, and I think I got what it takes. And I know that my fellow classmates and I in this Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program, in the personal growth classes, we're going to learn just a ton so that we can all get the job of our dreams. We'll learn how to interview and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to getting a lot of help from my fellow classmates so that we can get that dream job. I think I got what it takes. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Joe. Well, there you have it. We talked to 5 experts who are going to help us understand
how this deal is structured, if this deal will go through and whatnot. And by the end of this Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program, you will all be armed with enough skills to understand from 5 different perspectives whether or not this deal makes sense. And those 5 perspectives are as follows: economics management and strategy, sales, marketing and communication, entrepreneurship, personal growth, and finance and accounting. I'm Bob Burgundy signing out here from Haroun News Network's HNN.